radiorwb.co.uk. Breaking news.
And this morning on Radio Red, White and Blue, we see the breaking news in The Guardian. First thing, that BNP members are to be barred from teaching. Now, this is a story that's been running for a while now. Earlier on this year, the General Teaching Council had suspended a member of the party, Adam Walker, from his teaching job. He'd done very successfully for many years, very popular teacher. And the GTC actually found that Adam hadn't really done that much wrong, gave him a slight slap over the wrist technically, and he was free to take up a teaching job if he so wished. But now we've seen the Education Secretary in this Guardian report, Michael Gove, is now saying that he is going to give head teachers the power to dismiss teachers, not for anything that they've done or their actions, but dismiss teachers merely for being a member of the British National Party or other groups that have, in his words, an extremist tenor. Now, we've got on the phone line this morning Adam Walker, the BNP teacher, and he's now working full-time for the British National Party as a staff administration officer. Good morning, Adam. What's your take on this development?
Hi, John. Yeah, good morning. Well, it's quite interesting, this, isn't it? Because we have this quote, extremist tenor. Now, if anybody could tell me what that is, I'd be chuffed to bits, because I really don't know what it is and what it means or what it may entail. But, if we're talking about extremists, then obviously we've got to think about extreme what? I mean, we have teachers who have lots of different views. We have teachers who are very passionate and think a lot about various subjects, and obviously that's why they're teachers. So if you think about this extremist tenor quote here, I mean, does that include Muslims? Will it include socialists? Will it include animal rights activists? I mean, you've got to ask yourself where the book will stop.
Yes, and even though we don't agree with those people or that people with those beliefs, I think you and I would agree that as long as they don't bring those views into the classroom, it shouldn't be a problem, should it really? Let's be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're talking about fundamental human rights issues here. You know, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of belief, freedom of association. You know, and if Mr. Gove wants to start controlling what people are thinking, then I think he's on some very dodgy ground.
I think we also need to sort of reiterate for our listeners that maybe weren't quite familiar with the case that, Adam, you were actually cleared of racial and religious intolerance by a disciplinary panel in June this year by the GTC. Now, it's also reported in here that the GTC was disbanded a week after. Now, there's some question over that, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, because the GTC continue to send me things through the post. I recently received my new membership card, so whether it's being disbanded or not remains to be proved, John.
I mean, Mr. Grove is citing the decision here. He's quoted in The Guardian as saying that the decision on that your case was quite wrong. But how could he possibly say that if he hadn't sat and heard all the evidence that was presented in your defence?
Well, precisely, yes. I mean, Mr. Gove wasn't there. He didn't see things as everybody else did who sat on the panel. And he's formulating his opinions by what he's seen and read in the media. And we all know that that's some very dangerous ground to be on. Now, obviously, Mr. Gove was not in full possession of the facts. And the comments that I made, I believe, were justified. I described some immigrants, and this is the key word, some immigrants, as savage animals. And, you know, I believe people who come to our country who rape and murder our people could be described as that. I mean, I don't think there'd be many people who would disagree with me there.
No, not at all. And you weren't referring to race because, of course, the immigration that we see coming into Britain is of various races and creeds. So you weren't singling anyone out. You weren't homing in on anything in particular. And again, it's freedom of speech at the end of the day. Now, where does this end now? It's obviously, if they can get this one through, it's not going to be just teaching. There's the civil service to come next, no doubt. And I'm sure that this story is going to run and run. We'll be covering, I think, an in-depth analysis of this on the main BNP website. And I'm sure, Adam, that the mainstream media is going to be wanting to speak to you in possibly today or during this week at least. it'll be interesting to see what they've got to say on this matter as well.
Yeah, and just to mention as well, John, I mean, we constantly see on the television about, adverts for people to become teachers. Now, I would question who on earth would want to become a teacher when they know damn fine that should they appear in a classroom or in a school, that their every movement and their every thought process and everything they do is being monitored under some sort of thought crime umbrella, whereby they're going to be persecuted for something which they may perceive as being particularly not a normal way to think.
Of course, for many years we've seen what we would consider as a left liberal, or even, I might go as far to say, a far left liberal agenda that's being promoted in our classrooms for many years now. And we're not talking about BNP teachers espousing nationalist principles, but many, many teachers have been espousing cultural Marxism and the ideologies of the left for many years. And we see, I think we mentioned it earlier on in the conversation, this statement within, he's saying about the moulding of young minds. It sounds very sinister, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I mean, Mr. Gove himself, he'll know all about the left. I mean, he's a part of the Notting Hill set who constantly seem to pander to the left on an almost daily basis to the best of their ability. But, the shaping of young minds, which Mr. Gove mentions in his article, is quite interesting, because I'd like to ask what actually is meant by the shaping of young minds. I mean, do we mean that, teaching young children as young as 4 or 5 year old about homosexuality? Do we talk about the almost endless funding for lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgendered classes in schools? Is this the shaping of young minds? Because as far as I'm concerned, as a nationalist, it's quite the opposite.
Yes, well, as I say, Adam, I'm sure this story is going to develop now. We may well be speaking to you later in the week.
Before you go, John, can I just point out that in his article, Mr. Gove mentions about police and prison officers being barred, members of the BNP who are members of the police or prison officers being barred from their professions. They're not actually barred at all, because that hasn't been tested in Europe. And obviously Mr. Gove is on very thin ice here when he's starting to talk about banning BNP members, because this will be taken to the most highest level in Europe.
Yes, and of course, now that the British National Party have 2 members of the European Parliament, they will be in an ideal position to bring pressure to bear, and I'm sure they will do.
And I hope they do, to the best of their ability, John.
Adam Walker, thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Across the globe, around the world, you're online with Radio Red, White and Blue.